So first of all, I would like to thank everybody for taking time out of their busy Wednesday mornings and joining us on this webinar that we're hosting about cadence marketing and how AI is helping with cadence marketing. And we're going to talk, Stephen, about what is cadence marketing and what is
Okay.
cadence marketing AI. And
Right.
we're going to help people understand, what is the real difference in generic email marketing, why that is not working anymore, and why hyper-personalized AI-powered email marketing solutions that are using multi-channel touch points are becoming more effective and getting more response rates and helping their teams become more
Very cool.
augmented.
Very cool.
So
Very cool.
just to start today's webinar, first key question here is what is cadence marketing and what is cadence marketing AI? So I'm going to ask you, Stephen, a simple
Yeah,
question is
sure.
that before you were introduced to cadence marketing platform, such
Uh-huh.
as Bully, do you remember how you were doing your follow-ups?
Well, I can tell you. So I guess we're going to divulge in my pain points as when I was, a salesperson. I'd go to a conference, get a lot of business cards, and once I get back, to the office in New York, trying to sort through the cards, trying to recall exactly what I talked about. There's a few in there that wasn't so hot. I'm only following up with maybe three that were kind of hot. So basically, I had my own cadence, and which sometimes would get lost in translation, and trying to identify, the low hanging fruit that
So
may have.
let me ask you a question.
Good
Let me
stuff.
ask you a question over here. Sorry to interrupt you. Let's say you had an assistant that would do those follow-ups for you while you were focused on the leads that had already responded to you, that had already set up meetings with
Well,
you on the calendar, and you had somebody who was going to do these follow-ups for you persistently. Would that have helped you?
I'll tell you what, man. I'll use this metaphor. I like to play golf a lot, and when I'm on the golf course, trying to find a course, finding the right club by myself, it's a bit of a challenge sometimes, especially when you don't know the course. It's much easier to have a caddy. So to answer your question, like in this regard, absolutely, 100%. If I had an assistant to help me with those follow-ups, when I can just focus on the super hot leads, and then my assistant can maybe follow up with the ones who hasn't responded. I mean, that's night and day. That's pretty much a no-brainer, a win
Exactly.
situation.
Exactly. And that's exactly where, what we're trying to do here, right? What is the need? What is the problem? And what is the solution to this problem? Every salesperson today is slammed. Okay. The boss wants conversions. The boss also wants a pipeline. You have a host of leads that you're getting from the CRM or you pulled up from the trade show,
Yeah,
and you want to effectively follow up on that. At the same time, you need to focus on your meetings, your demos.
exactly,
You need to
exactly.
focus on the hot ones, and you're like, okay, man, I only have 8 hours a day.
And
When
I
do
know
I
exactly.
when do I hit the
As a human, one of the benefits of like having like a robot, if you will, like AI, is I'm fatigued when I come back from a conference. So if I had an assistant, that didn't get tired, I can plug and play. When I wanted her to reach out, and by the time I'm refreshed and rejuvenated and back in the office, I have meetings set up. So to have something like that, that's super ideal. From a salesperson's perspective.
Absolutely. So the goal with AI in cadence marketing is to augment your sales team where you have, like, let's say 100 people, but the tasks that are being done are for 1,000 people, what 1,000 people would have been doing. And that's what is about AI, right? What is AI? Artificial intelligence is supposed to automate processes, augment your current team so that you can do more. You can do more with your current teams. It's not about replacing your current teams. It's about increasing the capacity that your current team can, the productivity capacity of your current teams. And that's what the AI bringing into marketing as well. So this is a really cool case study, and we'll talk you through some of the big statistics around cadence marketing and around how sales are happening and how salespeople are working these days. So just like Steven said right now, right? I mean, if he had an assistant, that would have been great. So what is peak performance reality right now? Out of 100% of the time, only about 30% of the time that Steven or any salesperson or I am putting in is creative work. 70% of the time is grunt work. Either we're sending emails, or we're looking for prospects on LinkedIn, or any data source that we have. We're spending about hours doing that. Then we're adding them to a pipeline. We're sending them emails. Then we're following up on that. Only about 30%, sometimes even less of our time, is actually spent on actually creating content that you want to get out to these people, actually doing demos, actually doing meetings. So that's where the peak performance reality right now is. I mean, imagine if that 30% was 100% and AI was doing the 70%. Imagine the productivity that you would have had, Steven. So,
Absolutely.
so that's where we're trying to bring in, where cadence marketing and AI becomes really efficient. So the big thing that we have read from stats all over the internet is 80% of sales reps stop follow-ups after about 2 attempts. And more than 50% of people actually respond after 4 attempts. So that is a huge gap. I mean, the sales person would ever see 50% more responses if he or she had just done 2 more emails. But as a salesperson, going back to the grunt work with creative work conversation that we had, those 2 more emails are additional grunt work. And now the salesperson wants to focus on these 30%, which is his creative work or her creative work, where those people that have responded, they want to focus on them and get some conversions in, get some commission, get some conversions, show their bosses that they've actually sold something. And what happens is those 50% that would have responded after 2 attempts end up going lower and lower in the priority queue and eventually end up as dead rubber leads in the CRM. Now, if we have a look at what cadence metric statistics are, Steven, and you and I have seen this over time. I wouldn't name it, but one of your customers in the financial district area that we had a couple of years ago, how many months and how many emails or phone calls and touch points did it take for you to eventually get them to buy in or get in a meeting?
It was.
Who I'm talking about. Obviously, we can't take the name here, but you know who I'm talking about. One of the biggest companies in the world. Yeah. So do you want to talk a little about that? And because I mean, this 7 touch point is a really good cadence length, and that's why I brought that up, because I think you did approximately just about 7 over a period of about 4 months, and that's when you got the response for a meeting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, huge financial consultant in the NYC area, and getting a hold of these specific contexts. I mean, it was a challenge in itself. I mean, so to go back to that 7 touch point, pillar standard of getting to that contact, I mean, took a lot of sweat equity. Trying to find the right email, getting, through the gatekeeper, setting up the demo, making sure they showed up for that demo. And then, sometimes they have busy lives because they are event planners. So, it took a while to get them back into circulation.
And that's where, Steven, I feel that if you had AI doing those follow-ups, because I remember you and I used to have a conversation where you used to be like, I used to ask you, hey, did you reach out? And you're like, oh yeah, I got to do that. Or you were like, oh, I just did that yesterday, so I'm going to give it some more time. And, we were putting on the calendar that, okay, we'll reach out in a month again. Because, I mean, there was this period of time with that specific client where it was kind of a no reply situation, remember? Like where we were.
Yeah. And I also think it's easier for the prospect to reply to, like a Zoe. And it's making your status look, that much more, important as well. Like, okay, you have an assistant, and she's working for you. She's setting up the meeting. So it's making your time look that much more important, to the prospect as well. now that you have an assistant, setting up, these meetings
So,
and such.
so exactly. And so getting back to the case study that I was talking about with Stephen. So we had those, like Stephen said, one of the biggest financial consulting firms in New York City. And we had one initial meeting with them, which was booked via phone call. Then we came back, and then we were just chasing them. We were just sending them emails, and it took a period of over 6 months and multiple emails. And at times, it was hard to remember that you have to send them an email because it had
Yep.
been such a long time that they had not responded to us, that they started falling off the radar. And it was hard for us with all the other things that were going on
And especially, Varun, keeping
in
up
our
with the
lives.
out of office as well. There was times where she had an out of office set up, and I completely forgot. Okay, she's out of the office until the 23rd. So, that was a challenge.
So to keep that momentum going, is very important. And what the matrix have shown is that, either you get the highest responses on the second or the third reach out. After that, the seventh reach out as a touch point gets you the highest response. So the second and the seventh are showing the highest amount of people responding. And now these 7 touch points do not need to happen in 2 weeks. I mean, they can happen over a period of 3 months. They can happen over a period of 4 months when you're nurturing the lead, and you're just sending them quiet nudges. Hey, just following up on my previous email. Now, if you were doing that manually, this is what we were doing at that time. Is that instead of that happening over 3 months, it's spread over 6 months because we did end up slipping sometimes. Oh, I had to reach out, right? Because you have so much going on as a salesperson. So that's where a platform that helps you do that comes into real play. Now, this is again a really cool stat that we have here, where obviously the optimal attempts is 7. Believed total attempts via different media types that are happening or possible is about 15. And then the actual that salespeople are doing right now is only about 3.5, which is half of what is optimal. Again, very important to understand that a lot of marketing strategies, even in today's date, are built just around one channel. Either that's email or maximum 2 channels, email and phone call. But a lot of these marketing strategies, which are built around email, are just single media type, email only, mass email blast, bulk email blast with generic emails to everybody. That's really not working. I mean, people are sick of getting spam emails. You get instant replies saying, "Get me off the list, not interested," unsubscribe. And the other thing is, out of the email sent, about 60% responses will be out of office. I mean, if you're sending it out to 2,000 people, you'll get at least 500 out of office replies, which is obvious. And now what's going to happen to that? So that's very important to understand that just email won't work. You need to add additional media types in your cadence. What is cadence? Again, I mean, cadence is just setting up a decent interval of regular follow-ups so that the person is hearing from you from either different media types or different channels, but they're hearing your name constantly. They're getting some information. They're getting some communication from you. That is cadence marketing. And the ability for you to set up that interval, set up that cadence, and make sure that cadence is followed is where a cadence marketing platform comes into play. Now, what is getting really cool in today's day and age is the ability not to just use a single email cadence, but to add different channels. And that's where, we're going to talk more about how we're doing it. So these are, different cadence strategies. They're long form, they're short form, long emails with a lot of content. They're short emails just saying, hey, just looking for a referral. Very micro, any thoughts, just a short nudge. Did you get my previous email?
Just as a user, and I think just to, make it, more interesting, one of your clients, I remember she was out of Atlanta. It was like maybe 4 touch points from Zoe. In terms of like to speak on the cadence in real life, what it would look like is Zoe would reach out. First email would be something along the lines of, "Hey, it was nice meeting you at such and such trade show. Here's some information." Then in terms of the cadence, okay, do you want her to follow up every 2 days, every 3 days, and I think it was like increment of 4 days, Varun. So she
Yeah,
kept following up.
very good point that you brought it up is cadence strategies, where the
Absolutely.
thing is very important depending on how aggressive you want the follow up to be. Now, this what Stephen just brought up is a trade show, a follow up. Now, obviously, for a trade show follow up, your cadence strategy has to be slightly more aggressive because these are leads that are not cold; these are warm leads, rather hot leads that you have met face to face, in person, had a conversation with them. They've already shown interest in your products or services. Now you need to just book a meeting with them. You need to be in their face. You need to have multiple follow ups happen with them in good speed at a very high cadence, at a very strong, aggressive cadence. But at the same time, there could be another lead that is just a campaign that you guys are running from, 10,000 contacts that are lying in your CRM. Here, your cadence strategy is going to be more like, one email in 2 weeks or one email in 3 weeks, just reminding them. And that's where it gets really important to, build the right spacing between your emails, having the right strategy, whether it's email and phone call, whether it's email, phone call, or LinkedIn, but spacing it out evenly based on the aggressiveness of the campaign, depending on the scenario, becomes very important.
Just in that use case, it's like the content was done so beautifully on that. So for the last email, I mean, the conversation piece was very human-like. It was like something along the lines of putting this to the top of your list just in case it got lost in the weekly shuffle. And then finally, the prospect said, "Yeah, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm glad I saw this. Thank you for the persistence." So, I mean, the conversation with the cadence was just like so human-like. It's not spam where it's like, "Oh my God, will you please stop asking me if I want to go on this cruise?"
And that's where the content strategy within the cadence is very important, because obviously the first email is just a reminder, hey, we met here, great talking to you, give them some context of the conversation. Second email, obviously a short form, hey, remember we met, I'm just trying to follow up on my previous email. Maybe another short nudge. And then again, maybe you want to send another email with some context because they're like, oh, wait a minute, what is this about? So instead of having them go back to your first email, you send them some more context, and then again, short form or some other channel. So, like we said, you're creating this really strategic, orchestrated set of activities that kind of makes you rise above the noise of what everyone else out there is doing and gets that account to say, hey, I want to talk to you. Now, this is a really important phrase here. Just what we just said in the previous page is doing these creative activities, which are being automated, with your sales team still focusing on the peak performance, and AI doing these for you, or really strategically orchestrated, where it's sending one email, then sending, maybe a postcard, or maybe setting up a phone call on the salesperson's calendar saying that, hey, 2 emails have already gone, and now it's time for you to buzz their ears, something like that. Yeah, so
if you're in Formula One, I would feel like, Varun, I'm sure you can relate, Lewis Hamilton. As a sales guy, I need to focus on the track. Having this AI as an assistant, this is like your pit crew. Lewis Hamilton, he doesn't need to focus on his tires.
For example, as a race car driver, you want to focus on the driving and not changing the wheel and cleaning the car. So yeah, that's something that let AI do that, and let AI do that for you, and you focus on your driving, you focus on your sales, and you focus on closing those deals. Now, what is Zoe? What is Zoe, and what is Zoe AI Assistance for Cadence Marketing and Account Management? So one of the biggest things that AI and Cadence Marketing is bringing is this automation, which provides you personalization at scale, from out of office to custom skills, like even talking about things like sports and weather, just to add that more human touch to that conversation. So instead of the current tools that are out there in the market, where you're just going to plug in an HTML email, send out a blast, then somebody's going to sit down and look at the click rates, somebody's going to do those follow-ups, and then send out a schedule on a blast, or just a one-way conversation where you're just sending. Now, one is the ability to personalize these, add that human feel to your conversations that are going into the email. Second is the ability for AI, and that's where AI really chips in, is the ability for it to read the responses that are coming back. instead of somebody sitting down and monitoring these campaigns now, AI is doing that for you. AI is reading the out of offices that are coming back. AI is rescheduling or pausing the campaign for those out of offices so that they do not get any emails while they're still out of office. And the next email that goes out to them is automatically scheduled on the date that they're going to be back. So that again, Stephen, right? I mean, you mentioned that a few slides ago, has been the biggest asset.
Exactly. One of the biggest assets is imagine this, it's Q3, you're a sales guy. You really do need to take that family vacation. Now you really don't have to worry as much about putting that out of office, message on. Now you have an assistant that's working 24/7 that's handling these campaigns, setting up meetings for you. So it's literally, having, a stellar, assistant working with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So personalization at scale, ability to do multi-channel and persistent two-way follow-up and nurture them. So when it's two-way, we're not just sending out, but we're also reading the responses and scheduling follow-ups accordingly. If somebody's out of office, we're pausing it, and the follow-up is like, welcome back to the office. If somebody says, hey, I'm interested, but I'd like to learn a little more, so instead of putting that on the salesperson's calendar, Zoe sends out additional information about the product or the service as a second follow-up. So that's where it gets automated, because I mean, you're not just sending preset templated emails, but intelligently the AI is drafting the responses based on what the responses are coming in. If they're out of office, it's rescheduling automatically to go out on that date. If it is somebody's asking for more information before they talk to somebody, AI will send out additional information, whether that's sending out a brochure or whether that's just a pre-templated email that has more information about the product or service they're asking. Or the third case, which is the best case, is a super hot response where somebody's like, hey, I'd love to talk to you guys. And then AI sends them a calendar link, says, hey, that's great. We would love to talk to you too. Please select a date and time from my calendar, and it books a meeting for you.
What I love about it too, what makes it clean, from just as being a sales guy is, we currently use Salesforce, and it integrates, with any CRM platform that you're currently using. So by the time I get to the office, I can see which meetings have already been allocated, to me via Salesforce, which has been booked by Zoe.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest satisfactions as a sales manager, as a team manager, is that 100% of your leads are getting 100% attention and 100% follow-up and nurturing is happening for all your leads. Not one of your leads is getting ignored because they're all treated equally. No leads are let go. They're all followed up equally. So you have that peace of mind that, hey, I don't have to ask my team every second, hey, did you follow up on that one? Did you follow up on that account? It's being followed up. You don't have to worry about that. And you have transparent analytics available. And we'll get to that. We'll get to the integrations, which Stephen just spoke about, which is very important, and the analytics, which again is very important for you, for the managers to track how these campaigns are going, how many hot responses, how many people have unsubscribed or said that they're not interested, how many are scheduled for future follow-up based on out of offices. So that dashboard is also super important from a manager's perspective to see how the campaigns are going and what is going on. So
real quick, just one last thing, just as a sales guy, I'm not really too, technically savvy. So I need it to be seamless and really easy for me to operate. So, you can have various playbooks. So you can have playbooks for hot leads, medium leads. So all you have to do is just select which playbook, and the cadence is already associated with that playbook, and you can just hit send and go, or just CC yourself with Zoe, and then you automatically got the campaign started. It's really easy.
Absolutely. So the next piece that becomes a game changer in the field of cadence marketing is the ability to do multi-channel, automated, AI-powered cadence marketing. Now, this is something that is a game changer in how you are approaching your leads, how you're nurturing your leads. We've added multiple channels. We've even gone to the extent for the ability for you to schedule like small gifts to go out to people based on their interest and needs as a part of your lead nurturing. Let's say you're going after a specific account, and you have about 40 contacts within that account. Of those, 10 are the top priority one contacts within that account. Now, this is an account that you've been trying to bring in or open the doors with for a pretty long time, and you really want to try something different. So as a part of the cadence, now you can schedule, things like handwritten notes going out to these people, adding that really differential, personalized touch, and then even like a gift going out to them. Like, let's say somebody's interested in golf, you can have a set of golf balls go out to them, or a day at ticket to a PGA tour or something like that, that they can go and attend or something like that. So that just changes the whole game when it comes to cadence marketing. Because all right, I received 20 emails from a company. Hang on, somebody sent me a ticket to a PGA tour. Steven, which one which one do you read?
I think that's a no-brainer. I think I want to see Tiger Woods.
So, and you would be surprised how people react to the smallest of tokens, like even like
class. It's just class. It's not being salesy. It's not, but it's just having class, and that's that sets you ahead of your competition.
Exactly, and that's where AI and the combination of AI and a super intelligent platform like Zoe takes that whole piece to a whole new level. Now this is an example of a sample cadence flow, right? So step one, Zoe sends a handwritten note thanking for visiting at your trade show booth. Let's just say this is a trade show follow-up. Doesn't have to be, but let's just take this as a case study that you're following up on your trade show leads. And the first step of the cadence is a handwritten note goes out via Zoe. Second step, after 2 days, Zoe sends the first email. Now, let's hope we get responses on the first email, but we all know that doesn't always happen. Second step, plus 4 days, Zoe sends the second email. Again, we got responses from, let's say, 20% of the people by now, but there's still 80% out there that have not responded. Out of your 100 leads, you have 20 people who have now responded either yes or no for a next step, but there's still 80 people out there that have just not responded. Now, the third step is putting on the salesperson's calendar a reminder to call the leads with their phone numbers in that calendar. So as a salesperson, I come in today and I'm like, I see that, okay, 3 touch points have already happened with this specific lead. This is the 4th touch point where I'm making a phone call. And now I know what to say. Hey, did you receive my postcard, or did you get my email? Something like that makes it easier for the salesperson to kind of bring it to the contact. The person definitely remembers, oh, I got the postcard, I got 2 emails. Oh, thank you for calling. I meant to get back to you. A lot of times it is that. A lot of times these leads are like, I did mean to get back to you. It's just that I've been so slammed, I've been swamped with work, and I just didn't get a chance. So a lot of times it's just these quiet nudges that sometimes the person like, hey, you know what? I've been putting this on hold for a long time. I do need to talk to this person. Let me send them a reply. A lot of times people are not ignoring you, which a salesperson starts feeling after 3 emails.
That actually happened. So, I had a meeting that was set up on last Friday. Not realizing that Monday was a holiday. So Zoe had followed up with that lead and just sent a reminder saying, hey, want to make sure that you're going to join the call. The prospect said, oh, I completely forgot, it's a holiday weekend, I'm so sorry. I'm glad you sent me a reminder. Let's reschedule. So that's just a use case that helped me out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what happens, Stephen. So many times, doesn't that happen with you? You want to, let's take a simple thing, a car oil change appointment, right? You're like, oh, I have to do this. Like the service agent has been calling you. Hey guys, you need to schedule. And you're like, yeah, I'll do it. And then after the 4th reminder, you're like, hey man, I've been putting this on hold for so long. I know I have to do this. Let's do it now.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's just a human psyche that at times you prioritize things on your day-to-day basis. Everybody has their own priority. Taking a call from a salesperson is not the top priority at times, but it is something that is on that list and you want to get to it. But if you don't get reminded of it and it was lower on your priority, the chances of that falling off the radar are much higher than if you get frequent, consistent, persistent, but polite reminders. Then, hey, just checking if you still have a few minutes to talk. Just bring this to the top of your email. So the same thing. Well, let's say the salesperson calls, still ends up with a voicemail, right? That wasn't able to connect with them, which is very common, right? There's 80% of cold calls or calls end up in voicemails. They left a voicemail. Next, again, a couple days. Now, this is a super hot lead. This is the, whatever, the Goldman Sachs or banking or whatever, and you really want to get in there. You have scheduled a gift to go out in another 2 days. And so that person receives a gift. And then if it is part of, depending on, the kind of contacts you're nurturing, if you do want to add, Zoe also has the ability to send them a text message saying, hey, we exchanged phone numbers. I thought I'll just reach out. And hopefully...
I've used it to send notes, like just the old, snail mail, just like a handwritten note, that they appreciate. That gets their attention. You're doing something different.
So this is what Steven's just talking about. So this is a Zoe built, an AI-powered, AI-built handwritten note. This is not written in hand. This is written by AI. This is designed by AI. We have just selected the text that goes out. So you can build these notes to go out. So the initial pitch, that's the reach out on the note, and any thoughts on my previous mail. And this is all going out by AI. So this is actual campaigns that have happened for us. Second one goes out after the third day, in case it got lost in the weekly shuffle. Again, a fourth one is appreciate the deal. Would be happy to get on call sometime next week, Wednesday. So
Thank God AI doesn't have feelings, Varun. I mean, as much work as this employee is putting in, what a stellar employee! Never misses a beat.
And one of the things that is great with AI is that it's not temperamental, right? It won't do anything that depends on how the morning was coming into work.
Exactly. I'm having a bad day at home, so I'm taking it out on work. Yeah, it's not ex machina. Zoe doesn't have feelings as of yet.
Exactly. This is the gifting use case that we just talked about. Again, reach out number 4 could be a text message. Now it could also schedule on the rep's calendar that, hey, maybe you want to ping them on LinkedIn or Twitter, send them a message or something like that. So all this is built in, automated into the calendar. And then if the lead does respond with a positive response, at that time, it can send them a calendar which shows them the available times for the salesperson. The lead turns hot. So this is the dashboard. And this is what every sales rep wants to see, is more and more of these leads that are in the campaign turning hot. And then you can click on the email and see exactly what they said, what they want to do. And so coming back to integrations,
I've used it for one, which is really cool. Also, just from a salesperson's perspective, when I was in flight, I was taking like a 6-hour flight to the West Coast. While I was in the air, Zoe was already reaching out, to the client saying, Steven is on his way. He looks forward to meeting you at such and such place at such and such time. So you could do some cool stuff with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously, as an organization, there's every organization is using multiple marketing tools, whether those are CRMs, whether those are marketing automation tools, and very important for any AI platform that you're using to integrate with these marketing platforms so the data can talk to each other. You can see what's been going on with that lead in the past. You can see what happened in this campaign so that you can design future campaigns based on that and suggest future steps of action. So we are Zoe is also integrated with most of the top marketing platforms that are there, and we are open API, so we can integrate with additional platforms. This is a list of customers who are already leveraging Zoe. So the first one that you see is a reg vendor called CompuSystems that does the registration for the largest trade show, one of the largest trade shows in the world, called CES, Consumer Electronics Show. And they use Zoe effectively to follow up with exhibitors to purchase their lead capture tool, and they have seen an increase of more than 70% in their response rates once they deployed Zoe with automated follow-ups, because their sales reps were not being able to follow up with so many exhibitors. They do over 200 shows. Each show has at least a few hundred exhibitors, and they only had about 4 sales reps. Now, their lives were pretty tough because, I mean, they had to reach out to all these exhibitors. They had to process the orders. They had to send them email confirmations of the orders. And it was just getting really insane for them. So they implemented Zoe to do automated follow-up, send them the order links, take the orders, stop the follow-ups automatically once the order is placed, and send the confirmation as hot to the salesperson. So just completely transformed their lives, and increased the revenue and increased productivity for these people. So tons of other clients that are already using it. North Central University is using it for student enrollment and student communication. So helping reach out to prospective students, helping them enroll, answering questions about enrollment as a part of the campaign, answering questions about funding, or any international students have questions about how they get the visa. So it's doing all that. So very important.
Well. Retail is very cool as well. Like if you want to plan out your shopping, you want to see if they have a specific designer at the store.
Or if you're running a campaign as a retailer to a member group that, hey, we're having this new designer thing coming to our store, please make sure you visit us, and then just following up with them that, hey, did you get a chance? So absolutely, Stephen, really awesome use case that you brought up.